So I have a question. So from America First perspective, why do we give $3.8 billion to Israel, which is more aid than we've given to Africa, more aid than we've given to South America, and more aid than we've given to the Caribbean combined, which is home to 1 billion poor people, especially when they deliberately attacked the USS Liberty in the 1970s?
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event. That is not acceptable. Do not say that.
Okay, Dean Rusk disagrees with you, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, but that's fine.
I never myself accepted the Israeli purported explanation. Accidents don't occur through repeated attacks by surface vessels and by aircraft. It obviously was a decision taken pretty high up on the Israeli side.
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event.
A lot of it, we believe, was covered up. That it was an intentional act by Israel to sink the ship with all hands, no survivors.
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event.
They shouldn't be called an ally. They don't deserve it.
Why do you think they would have bombed the ship?
Their next plan was to attack the Golan Heights. So the troops they had on the Sinai now had to be moved to take the Golan Heights. The fact that the Israelis were massacring Egyptian troops, Egyptian prisoners of war. They had so many of them, and once again, they wanted to move all the troops they could to the Syrian border, and they couldn't handle the Egyptian prisoners of war. So they massacred them.
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event.
George Ball, the brilliant and courageous Undersecretary of State at the time of the '67 war, wrote about the attack on the Liberty subsequently. He said, "The ultimate lesson of the Liberty attack was that it had far more effect on policy in Israel than in America. Israel's leaders concluded that nothing they might do would offend the Americans to the point of reprisal. If America's leaders did not have the courage to punish Israel for the blatant murder of American citizens, it seemed clear that their American friends would let them get away with almost anything."
And then the second part is also, you have the Apollo incident in which they illegally stole weapons-grade uranium. The CIA has reports on this.
Enough of this anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic
No, I'm not
rhetoric.
anti-Israel. I'm just asking from America perspective because it's not in our interest. They act against our
Remember the
interest.
short question part?
Sure. I mean, how is it in our interest that we give this money to Israel?
All right, so it's required that they have to buy American weaponry. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, the only place where all three monotheistic religions are allowed to peacefully practice. It's the only country in the Middle East where all three monotheistic religions are represented in their government. It's the only place in the Middle East that has any appreciation for LGBT rights whatsoever. It's the only country in the Middle East that doesn't throw homosexuals off the top of buildings when they find them. It is the only partner that we have in the fight against radical Islamic terrorism. And the subtext of your narrative could be extrapolated to say, well, why on earth would we have a partner like Israel? Guess what? The world's a better place because of Israel. That's right. All right, we'll do one or two more. I think we're running two
more questions.
I don't know. Okay.
Maybe three. Well, that was bashful. Charlie, I speak for a not insignificant coalition of students in your organization that believes that your movement is utterly toothless. There was a young man, I think a week or two ago, that slapped you around pretty good on immigration. And so I guess my perspective is this. When we look at somewhere like Texas where immigrants are coming in and they are voting something like 70-30 for Democrats, they're utterly anti-gun. This is Pew Research, and utterly against free speech. I don't really think it matters how many young leadership, whatever conferences you hold. Demographics are going to catch up to you and you're going to lose. This is a culture where you're going to get routed in.
It doesn't look like it.
Wait, you talk super fast. I think what you were saying is I'm wrong about immigration, basically, is what you're saying. So, okay, effectively. Okay, so I'll make my stance perfectly clear. We should build a wall. I've said that time and time again. We should restrict illegal immigration. I don't even describe illegal border crossing as immigration because it cheapens people like Kimberly's family. That is border jumping and line cutting. Immigration is applying at your embassy and getting peaceful entry into the country. I said something so explicitly clear. There should be no limitation on EB-5 visas. You know what an EB-5 visa is? No, you don't. EB-5 visa means that you come with $1 million cash and you have to create 10 jobs. Right now, we limit the amount of EB-5 visas in our country, which is one of the most backwards, stupid things we could possibly do. If you have money and you want to do good, you should be given entry into the United States and saying, welcome to our country.
And that's a merit-based system.
And this is what the president has fought for. some people have intentionally misrepresented my comments by saying that somehow I don't understand the threat of border jumping or line crossing line cutting into this country, which is just not true whatsoever. I will say this though, that I don't believe the conservative movement, and some people believe this, should become an anti-legal immigration posture. And I'm afraid you hold that position. I'm sorry? Pick you? That's fine. Happy to. You're wrong. I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. Because if you believe in market economics, you want as many ambitious, aspirational, ethical, and entrepreneurial people to come into your country as possible. That's the position I hold. Thank you for your question.
I have a question. I'm going to try to make it as quick as I can. Establishment conservatives like yourself hold that national health care for Americans is too expensive, immoral, and doesn't work. Yet the U.S. gives Israel, Central America, Africa, and other regions billions in foreign aid. In particular, Israel received $3.8 billion to subsidize its immoral, expensive health care system, while Americans are made bankrupt by health care costs and pay a far higher effective tax rates than Israelis. My question, therefore, why would white Americans send their taxpayer dollars to fund Israel's health care while our mothers fight cancer, our brothers die of opioid overdoses, and the news of a coming baby brings not joy and happiness, but grave concern over thousands and thousands in future medical bills? How is that America first?
Thank you for being here tonight. So what is the foreign aid we give Israel spent on?
Bombs for blowing up children. But also their healthcare system, their wall, which we don't have.
That's quite a bold, inaccurate way to depict it.
I'm having a little fun.
So I'll answer the question for you. The foreign aid we give Israel is spent on American defense manufacturers that employ Americans and is built on a joint alliance. It's not built on their domestic welfare programs. Let me finish. Okay. So you believe that Israel is immorally existing in the Middle East, or you said something of the sort?
I don't believe I said that.
Okay, you said, well then...
I said that we're financing their healthcare system, their public healthcare system, which by your moral code is immoral.
So we're not. We're actually in a joint partnership where we give them certain amounts of money only if they spend it on U.S. defense manufacturers. So Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, millions of Americans are employed by the very countries that we have a joint partnership alliance with Israel. Let me say something else. I appreciate you being here tonight. I get a lot of questions about Israel. I'm a proud American. I'm a proud, freedom-loving patriot. I believe in America first. But I also believe in the sovereignty of Israel, and I also am so perplexed and puzzled by the amount of hatred that goes against the country that has half of the Jews in the entire world, the only democracy in the Middle East, the only place where Muslims, Christians, and Jews all represent in the same government in the Middle East, the only country in the Middle East that doesn't throw gays off the top of buildings when they come in contact with them.
My alma mater, and Iowa City being my hometown. There's plenty of leftism here that needs combating, so I'm thankful that you're helping do that. And also, as an entrepreneur, I admire what you've done in building this program up, Turning Point. My question is, you said our immigration should be based on what is best for our country. Should the U.S. continue its present immigration policy, which currently ensures, as you said, nearly 1 million new immigrants are allowed in each year, with the lion's share being leftist in their ideology and democratic in their voting patterns? And I think this question is different enough from the earlier immigration question to warrant a response, given that some elections are lost by 100,000 votes or less.
So I try not to look at immigration in terms of political. I'll look, because I think that could be very convoluted. I will say that 1 million people a year, the way we've been doing it, is not what's best for our country. I've been looking at the data. Senator Tom Cotton has a great bill that he introduced to bring it down to 500,000 based on merit. Again, I believe in ending chain migration and ending the visa lottery. That's hundreds of thousands of people in that million figure. I've also said that if you graduate from a United States university with a skill, upon graduation of your diploma, we should staple a green card behind your diploma. Okay? If you have a skill and you've been educated in our country, I don't think it makes sense to export that person to go back to Korea or Sudan or wherever. So then all of a sudden we export the intellectual investment that we made within our own university. That doesn't make logical sense to me. I do think, though, that we have to be for legal immigration, but we have to be very smart in the way that we do it. It can't be unlimited, it can't be unrestrained, and we cannot have a porous southern border. And guess what? I want to look at the data and analyze exactly what's best for our country, and I think you and I could probably agree on a lot of that. So thank you for your question, and thanks for being here tonight. So thank you.
Charlie, thank you for coming out tonight. That being said, I'm curious as to why you support the First Step Act and criminal justice reform in general, when we now know that several of the people released from prison by the First Step Act have actually gone on to commit more crimes after their release. For example, Joel Francisco, a crack dealer from Providence, Rhode Island, is now a fugitive because he is suspected of committing a murder just months after his release in February of this year. Do you still support your previous position?
I'll have to look into that specific example. Look, I support what Texas and Arkansas did, Texas and Florida did at their specific First Step Act. That's a horrible example. It's indefensible. No one should have to be, harmed. But I will say that I think there's a wide agreement, and Senator Chuck Grassley totally agrees with this, that our prison system is totally broken. And successful reentry is a very complicated thing. That example is brutal, and I'm not going to diminish it or try to, say that it's, it's not one that should be given credence. However, with the amount, it's actually not good long term if we don't find a way to successfully reenter people that are currently in our prison system. So more examples like that would continue to happen if we don't crack this code, that people in our federal penitentiary system have a way to find dignity when they reenter, because they are going to reenter eventually.
My question is for Charlie Kirk. Why do you deny the attack on the USS Liberty, which is well documented by both U.S. and Israeli sources, and which resulted in the death and injuries of over 200 Americans?
I deny that it was a deliberate attack by the Israeli government. That's what I deny. Thank you for being here tonight. Is there another comment you'd like to make about that? Sure.
Some people would disagree. I would just like to ask one more quick thing. Would you be willing to debate somebody that is an actual America First conservative like Nick Fuentes?
No. Thank you.
How you guys doing? Thanks for coming to New Hampshire today. My question is from Mr. Kirk. I was just going to say, why are you so obsessed with pushing homosexuality into the conservative movement when America is a Christian country based on family values? Maybe Mr. Paul come in at the end of that, because he has said about the gay marriage question at the beginning.
I'll take exception with the word obsession. I'm not really sure where you would get that from, but I'm proud that I have some of the closest friends and some of our most productive and amazing spokespeople and employees for Turning Point USA are individuals that are gay, and I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with a conservative movement that embraces talented people that also happen to be gay.
Mr. Senator, Mr. Kirk, thank you both for coming up. When President Trump speaks, he mentions many of his successes in regards to specific races: unemployment rate among blacks, small business ownership among Hispanics and Asians. At the same time, he not only avoids mentioning the main demographic that voted for him, white America, but continues to promote a progressive post-racial politic that suggests white voters should be grouped only by their political beliefs. As a white man attempting to move past identity politics, much like yourselves, I am wondering how realistic it is to expect other racial groups to stop banding together based on ethnicity and move forward as we have, especially when there is no pressure to assimilate to an American identity beyond that of having access to and consuming the same products.
What's the question?
Well, I mean, I guess I kind of treat it the same. I kind of treat it the same as the last question a little bit, in that the best kind of justice, the best kind of government doesn't care what the color of your skin is, whether you're man, woman, black, white, and that's the direction we should go. Can I make you not think about identity, or can I make us? I can't do that, but I think we're heading in that direction, and I think there was a time, look, my wife's dad's a Baptist, and my wife's mom is Catholic. It was a big deal. The Baptist wouldn't come to the wedding because he married a non-Christian, according to them, all right? Catholics and Protestants didn't get along. Now you'd almost never see that anymore. But you see people marrying across racial boundaries. You see we are an amalgamation that all the bad stuff you can say about our country, about us not figuring out how to get along, is better than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But some of it isn't my job either, because people come to me and they complain about cultural things. Like, you know what the biggest problem we have related to poverty in our country? It's having kids before you're married. I can't do anything about it. I can't make you not do whatever it takes to have children. That's your business. But preachers should talk about it, and your community should talk about it. I'm not saying it's not important. It probably might be one of the most important things that people know in high school and as they become an adult is to try not to have kids until you're married because you'll live in poverty. And yet, I can't do it. I can't make a law to tell people to do that. It doesn't mean I'm not for it, but it kind of means ministers will come to me and I say, well, that's your job. You've got to tell people to do that. So some of it's through exhortation, trying to get people to do what we think is the right thing, and then some of it's through law. And being more libertarian leaning, I'm for the law doing very little at the federal government other than defending the country. It was about it.
Thank you so much. My question is this. Charlie, you often express the view that America is a nation of ideas, not of blood and soil. But traditional American ideas have very little purchase these days in the state of California, which, due to immigration-induced demographic shift, has been irreversibly transformed from a reliably Republican state to a Democratic stronghold. Taking this in combination with the fact that the least desirable immigrants are also those who are most likely to lie about their beliefs in America, how can we prevent America from suffering California's fate without taking into consideration blood and soil in our immigration policy?
Thank you for being here tonight. So, look, I think one of California's biggest issues is the fact that we have a porous southern border, and we've allowed 15 to 20 million people to border jump into our country and cut in line, essentially illegally enter into our country. That's number one. Number two, I think we should get rid of this ridiculous visa lottery and chain migration system that we have in our immigration. And kind of close the loop on that. I mean, I think currently you look at the trends. In the 1990s, the amount of legal immigrants that we brought into the country spiked dramatically. And the amount of low-skilled workers that we brought into America correlated with it. And I think that's pretty troubling because if we look at our country, every country has capacity. We happen to be enormously wealthy and very, very generous. But we also have capacity. We have a capacity that will reach as well. And so I'm not sure if we have much to disagree with on this, except in the sense that our ideas are the greatest ideas ever to exist in the history of the world, and we've created that country around those core set of ideas. But a nation is defined by its borders. And if we have a porous southern border and we allow it to continue, then we'll have an uncontrolled problem of child sex trafficking, opioids coming into our country, and lawlessness. So I thank you for your question. I appreciate it. So thank you.
This is more directed at Charlie.
This means it's going to be an easy one then. You get the easy ones.
So I just have to take issue with the stance most right-wing pundits like yourself have, which I find hypocritical. Recently, at a talk in Jerusalem, you made the claim that America isn't a people, it's just an idea. You also claimed that Israel isn't just an idea, it's a people.
I reject this idea of dual loyalty. I have loyalty to ideas. And of course I love the Grand Canyon, I love the Rocky Mountains, and I love Boston, and I love Chicago. But if all that disappeared and all I had was ideas, and we were on an island, that's America, that's Israel. And that's what people have to realize, that America's just a placeholder for timeless ideas. And if you fall too in love with, the specific place and all this, that's not what it is. Israel will be the exception because there is a holy connection to this land.
This had me thinking. You cherish Zionism and people like Bibi Netanyahu or Theodore Herzl, the founder of Zionism, people who are open ethnic nationalists who care very deeply about maintaining a Jewish ethnic majority in Israel. How can you be that vocal? How can you be a vocal critic against any and all forms of European ethnic nationalism while holding them opinions?
Thank you for being here tonight. I expanded on those comments later in the video and beyond that, saying that America also has a beautiful history and is a place, and I expanded on that in a variety of ways. Not the first time I've gotten this question this week. It seems like it just keeps on coming back, and even tonight. Look, I'm a proud American, and I believe in the ideas that built America. And I'm also proud to stand with Israel, our greatest ally in the Middle East. And I want to apologize for that. I want to apologize for their history and the unfair amount of persecution that they're under from every direction imaginable. Israel is not perfect. They have their fair share of mistakes. However, considering that they are in a sea of totalitarianism, a democratic state where Arabs, Muslims, and Christians can visit their holy sites, can vote in democratic elections, and can all cooperatively serve in the Knesset is something that deserves appreciation, especially when it's in a region where the other neighboring countries are 600, 700, 800 years behind them. And I just find it puzzling at times the amount of criticism that Israel gets, considering the amount of horror or human rights that actually happen in the Middle East. And so, to build upon your original thing that you said, that I said in Jerusalem, I even expanded upon America, that of course we should be proud of all the amazing sacrifice that our country, the people before us in our country have went through to make us possible. But yes, the ideas behind America are ones that are based in Scottish Enlightenment ideas. The Constitution, which is one that rights come from God, not from government. And any country that has ever had any form of success has duplicated and replicated the American ideas and implemented them in their country. And I think that's something that we should be very proud of. So thank you for being here tonight. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you so much. Please give it up for Senator Rand Paul.
So my question is, if the president were to enact a policy that would completely benefit the United States and her citizens, but to the detriment of Israel, would you support it, yes or no?
Well, that's a false choice. Thank you for being here. I get a lot of questions about Israel in the last week. I will not apologize for my defense of our greatest ally in the Middle East. I will not apologize for the fact that I defend Israel against its critics, both domestically and abroad. And I'm always just very puzzled at times when I get the amount of attention that is on the only democracy in the Middle East, the only place where all three monotheistic religions are allowed to peacefully visit their religious sites, the place that has respect for human rights, the place that the Knesset has representation for all three monotheistic religions, something that does not exist all throughout the Middle East.
Not to mention the only pro-gay place in the Middle East, by the way.
Somebody outside a protester was asking about the term culture war. It's got a long history, started late 1800s, Otto von Bismarck, Kulturkampf. In the late 1990s, mid-1990s, it was reclaimed by conservatives, one of those being E. Michael Jones, who actually started this magazine, Culture Wars magazine, and because of his fantastic work, we now understand, thank you, give it up. Because of E. Michael Jones' groundbreaking work, we now understand that sexual liberation is political control. It's a form of political control. And you have multiple times advocated on behalf of accepting homosexuality, accepting homosexual acts as normative in the conservative movement. How does anal sex help us win the culture war?
I'm going to let the gay man answer
wait a minute. So can I ask you a question? Can you have the balls to ask the gay man on the stage that question and don't defer to him? Ask me that question. I will answer you that question. I'm going to answer you. You already asked the question, so I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to ask you that question. This is America. This is the greatest freaking nation in the world. We realize that America is great because we have Western values. We realize that, let me finish, dude. We realize that gays and lesbians are able to contribute to American society in the same way that everybody else is. And let me tell you, when you continue doing that, okay, you realize that we are here. We are able to do everything. And let me tell you something as well. I served in the military, right? I served 5 years. I did an Iraq tour. What's up?
How does homosexual sex help us win the culture war?
Who said homosexual sex helps you win the culture war?
That is the question that I'm asking. Why are you promoting it?
Well, it's a BS question, and you know it is. It's a question that is not it's not a good faith question.
So I'm going to be honest. Question. Rob, honestly, I don't care what two consenting adults do. So that's the
whole thing.
And your hyper focus on it is kind of weird. Thanks for being here.
You seem to be really interested in gay sex. I'm pretty sure if you're into that, you can go find somebody to do it with. I don't know, maybe. Next question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
My question is largely directed to Mr. Kirk because you were raised as a conservative. Part of the issue I see here is, what's your name, Rob?
Yeah.
So you're saying, you're behind the times, this isn't conservative. Well, we don't want centrists in the conservative movement. We want to retain our core values.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
We don't want drag.
But here's the thing. It's not about what you want, because here's the thing. The beauty about social media the beauty about social media is that I can be me and I can bring myself to the table. And it's not about what you want, it's about what the people want. And if there are enough people in this movement that say, hey, Rob is cool, he's gay, whatever, it really doesn't matter what you think. You can say whatever you want and you can believe whatever you want to believe.
Let me ask my question.
But it's not going to stop me from doing what I'm doing. And it's not going to deplatform me.
So my question is, again, it's directed to Mr. Kirk because he was raised as a conservative. As the guy before has said, you've advocated for homosexuality, said that there's a place for the gay agenda within the conservative movement. My question is, and you're also comfortable with transgenders and cross-dressers, I understand. So my question is there any point where conservatives should take a moral stance on Christian morality, or should we abandon it altogether? So in other words, what is what is your brand of conservatism doing to actually conserve Christian morality? If we're ceding to the left on transgender, gay rights, gay marriage, we don't want that in conservatism.
So you don't want him in the conservative movement? I just want to be very clear. Let's just be... Rob.
So you don't want me in the movement?
No. Hold on a sec. I want to be very clear. Hold on a sec. You're bringing some very charged language. I'm going to try to calm down the temperature in the room, so I can try to rationally understand an irrational position.
Why should we
Let me finish.
compromise our fundamental beliefs?
Let me finish. So, I'm a Christian. I believe the Bible is the greatest book ever to exist in the history of the world. And I believe Rob Smith has decency and dignity as an individual in the United States of America. Hold on a second. We're not a theocracy. We never have been.
And you know what? And wait a minute. Let me hop in here. Hold on, because I'm in it. He's addressing me.
Yeah.
The thing that I don't understand. Well, I'm addressing you. How about that?
You don't even have the courage to address the gay man on stage.
So the problem that I have with as somebody that is a gay Christian, and this is the problem that I have, because my relationship with God and coming back into the church over the past year and a half is one of the greatest gifts that has been given to me in terms of being in this movement. So my question to everybody who tries to say that, oh, you shouldn't be, Christian because you're gay, why are you trying to turn people away from God? So if you love God, and Christianity is so right, because I do love God, so why would you be trying to turn me away? Why would you be trying to turn me away from God?
So we're going to get to
another thing, and one thing that I don't do,
question.
And one thing that I don't do is that there is no man that is of this earth that is going to tell me what God has for me and how much God loves me. So goodbye. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Next question. Thank you.
All right, so according to the U.S. Census Bureau population projections, in 2045, whites will account for less than 50% of the population in the United States. Given that the Democratic Party's policies do not point towards the maintaining of our American ideals, and given the most groups other than whites overwhelmingly vote Democrat, how can we be sure that said American ideals will be maintained when millions of immigrants come in with majority Democratic support? Can you prove that our white European ideals can be maintained if the country's majority is no longer made up of white European descendants? If not, should we support mass legal immigration?
Okay, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Let me answer, I guess, your question with my perspective. I've been asked this a couple times in the last week and a half. Let me tell you my stance on immigration, then I'm going to tell you where I think you go terribly wrong with your question, okay? I think that we should embrace Senator Tom Cotton's RAISE Act, which is to lower the amount of legal immigrants into our country, but increase the merit base that we let people to come into our country. End the visa lottery, end chain migration, make English the official language of the United States, build the southern border, and restrict the amount of flow of border jumping and line cutting to come into our country. But I'm always perplexed by this argument I'm always interested by this argument, like, oh, how are we going to maintain our white status? So let's play out that racist idea, and all of a sudden we let a bunch of French people in our country. No, let's play that idea. We let a bunch of German or French people who are all socialist and hate our values. The insinuation of your question is that somehow race and ideology are intertwined together. President Donald Trump has been wrongly accused of being a racist president. Do you know that President Donald Trump received more support in the Latino and the black community than John McCain and Mitt Romney?
Combined.
I will also say
Combined.
that it is a failure of the conservative movement to not be able to communicate to communities in the black community, which I believe the black community is an inherently conservative community, a community that is around the ideas of the Judeo-Christian tradition. It is a pro-life community. It's a hard-working community. And so to reject your premise that, oh, how are we going to keep the white status of this, I find that to be a racist question. I reject the idea behind it. I do not think America should become a white ethno-state as a country. In fact, I think that is a fringe perspective. I appreciate you being here, and I'm going to rationally push back against it every single time I come in contact with it. Thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate it. Next question.
Yeah, what a racist question that was. So I got a quick and fun, lighthearted question for you, Charlie. So I know you gave a speech in Jerusalem earlier this year.
Yes, I did.
Were there any awesome, fun dance parties that you guys had afterwards? Because I heard that Israelis are some of the best dancers in the world. I mean, if you guys don't believe me, just Google dancing Israelis. It's insane how good their dance moves are. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Israel's a beautiful country, a great country, too.
It is. They're our greatest ally.
Correct. Thanks for being here tonight. Next question. Thank you for being here tonight. Next question. Yeah, let's give it up for Rob Smith for being a veteran, right?
Thank you.
All right, so I've followed you for a while. I've listened to a lot of your talks, and my question is this. Given that your interpretation of traditional conservative values stems from 1965 on immigration and 2015 on race, I'd like to know, how long do we have to wait until child drag shows are pushed as American traditional conservatism?
Let me answer. I'm going to answer that question. So, I get a lot of crap, and I've been getting a lot of crap from people in this room about being a gay conservative. And let me be very clear right now. No, you're not. But okay, that's great. But let me
He
address
served in
that.
the United States military. That's what he conserved, my friend.
How about
he
I
served in the military while you're a coward and you go to the front of the line.
How about
he
I
went to
conserve this
Iraq
country,
to protect
dude?
our freedoms
How about
while
I
you go
conserve
up
this
talking
country,
about
dude?
conserving our country.
Your freedoms when I was fighting in Iraq for you. How about that? Is that a good enough answer about what I conserve?
My question is for Charlie.
Okay.
So, in the wake of the student debt crisis, stagnant wage growth across all education levels in all fields, liberal arts, STEM, how is regurgitating this far-left talking point of stapling green cards to diplomas America first? How is this any different than chain migration funded by taxpayers through the NSF, DOE, DOD? Those funds go to...
Yeah, I'm happy to elaborate on it. So I said at a speech last week that if someone graduates from a four-year college, they should have a green card stapled to their diploma. Let me elaborate on that further. I don't think it makes sense as America First to invest our tax dollars in foreign nationals that come to our own publicly funded universities and then say go back and compete against us in Korea, Japan, or Southeast Asia. Well, so you just said they're competing against us here. Well, actually, if they're employed by American companies or they're entrepreneurs, there's evidence to show that they actually embrace our American cultural identity and they come and they immerse into our country. So I'll give you a great example. So I'll give you a great example. This same sort of skepticism, the same sort of hostility was given towards Asians in the 1940s and 50s. Asians have been one of the most productive, one of the most amazing communities, least likely to commit crimes, most contributing communities to our country, including Indian Americans, people from Southeast Asia. And so I will say this. Look, I'll nuance it even further. And a green card is not citizenship. I did not say citizenship. There's a huge difference there. But if you graduate from Stanford, MIT, Yale, and you're able to find a job that needs to be filled by an American employer, then yes, I do believe you should be given temporary residency to be able to fill that job. And guess what? You pay taxes. You're within the system. I'll say this. I believe in lowering the amount of legal immigrants. I believe in eliminating chain migration. I believe in ending the visa lottery, making English the official language of the United States, building the wall, enforcing our laws, and also allowing ICE to go into our inner cities to go after lawbreakers, as well as ending sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities are one of the worst things that we allow to happen in our country where lawlessness happens every single day. Thank you for your question. I appreciate you being here.
Hi, Charlie. So I saw and enjoyed your debate at Politicon with Kyle Klinsky over the weekend. And you said during the debate that the free speech police are telling people that they can no longer say certain things. Yet, as you were saying that, you had actual police prevent someone from merely watching the debate. Nick Fuentes.
We're gonna have to. I can't go in this one. I'm a paying customer. I can't watch the event. Why? I won't be disruptive.
And there was no evidence that he was going to be disruptive or break the rules. But now Nick has some pretty abhorrent views that I strongly disagree with. But you say socialism is the most evil and deadly ideology.
Somebody told me that the police did something. That wasn't my event this weekend. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. I'm getting all these messages that said I kicked somebody out. What do you mean?
Speak a little louder, please.
Well, he was so there were multiple times when he went up he was in a line to take a picture with you, and then he was barred from taking a picture with you, and then he was barred specifically from your event. He was told that he could just.
Is this the internet troll? I'm confused who you're talking about.
Who are these people?
Who are you? I want to be sure that is this the internet troll that is the guy that believes in white ethno-nationalism or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure, because there was a guy that infiltrated our booth at Politicon that security came up to us and they said, we're not allowing this guy at the event. Maybe that's what you're talking about. Because there's a guy that infiltrated our booth, and then the Politicon security, an event that I don't run, they came up to me and they said, this guy made a little disruption. But I want to clear this up because I'm getting messages about something I'm not totally clear on.
So yeah, debate Nick. Yeah, if you.
No, he's got a lot of fangirls in here tonight, huh?
I mean, you debate socialists and you say socialism is the most deadly ideology. Why not? If you're saying that socialism is the most dangerous, why not debate someone like Nick and get his bad ideas out of the
Well,
the
I think
culture
I've been debating a lot of his bad ideas here tonight quite well. So thank you very much for being here tonight. I appreciate it.
Hello. So my name is Patrick Casey. I'm an American nationalist and America First patriot. And thanks, guys. So, and despite all of that, despite my ardent support for the president and his policies, I was actually kicked out of CPAC earlier this year.
But I didn't kick you out of this event.
No, and I'm not going to blame you.
Just
I'm not
making
gonna blame,
sure.
Yeah, you're very defensive here. I get that. As was my good friend Nicholas J. Fuentes, whom I believe you were just discussing up there. But look, I'm not going to blame you for that.
I just want to make
I've got
sure.
a question here.
Is that the troll that keeps tweeting about me?
He's not
on
a troll. He's
Twitter?
a very intelligent guy who has a lot to say. He's somewhat of a troll, but
Well,
trolling's a
he
very fine-
seems to
Anyway,
be getting a lot of you guys to say stuff for him tonight, so.
I don't debate trolls.
I think we've been debating them all night.
Right, so I'm just citing CPAC's decision to remove American nationalists from their conference. I'm not blaming you for that. I'm moving it into something.
I don't run
I'm
CPAC
saying,
either.
Right, and I just said that I'm not blaming you. I've said that 3 times. So, but you do run TPUSA, and TPUSA did remove its relationship with Ashley St. Clair, who all she really did was take a picture with Nick Fuentes. She was in the same room. So my question to you, Charlie, is as someone who, purports to be pro-debate, free speech, and, the exchange of ideas, do you support blackballing people based on having controversial opinions or being even in the same room when a photograph is taken with someone who has controversial opinions? And the second part of that question is, if the answer is no, will you debate me on immigration, identity, and demographics?
Well, so, first of all, I mean this respectfully. I have no idea who you are. The other thing, that was a private matter. Ashley's a good person. We handled it privately. That's all I'm going to say about that. And finally, I just want to make a broader statement. I want to make a broader statement. My stance on Israel, I'm not going to back away on it. My stance on immigration is a mainstream position. And I think it's really incredible because the amount of people that have been here tonight that have shown hatred towards Rob, that have been shown hatred towards his ideas is pretty incredible. And so I really don't know who you are, and the fact you're getting as upset as you are.
Hey, you guys, who likes Cardi B? Cardi B? You know she has that song,
Shout out to the Groypers.
People do anything for clout? That Cardi B song, People Do Anything for Clout? People will do anything for clout. Anything for the clout, boy.
Guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. Remember, America's the greatest country ever to exist in the history of the world. Thank you for being here and for your tolerance. The Constitution's the greatest political document ever written, and free enterprise capitalism is the most moral, proven, and effective economic system ever discovered. Thank you, guys. Have a great night. I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Never felt so loved.
Eat shit! Eat shit, Turning Point! Eat shit, Charlie Kirk!